So, for those of you who know, I've been going crazy on YouTube. I have this other podcast series on branding, and I have an interview series with some people who are dear friends and new friends. And one of my dear friends, old friends, is Ori Spado, the Accidental Gangster. And most of these people have books out, not everybody, but the Accidental Gangster is joining us this morning. We're both kind of in a hurry, but we wanted to, he agreed to do this, and I thank him. Welcome, Mr. Spado. The theme of my podcast, again, we're going to keep it brief, is the notion of the black sheep, because I'm a black sheep. And even in organized crime, some of the crime families were considered to be more of the kind of the black sheep entity than others. We don't have to mention names of anybody, but Ori knows
Well,
game.
I had to disagree.
Okay.
Never heard of any family being a black sheep. I mean, some families are larger than other families. They're all different sizes. You know, like the Genovese and Gambino family, they're two of the largest. The DiCavalcanti family, I don't even know if it exists. Okay, very small. If it's still in existence, I don't know. And then you got the Bonanno and Colombo family, which are two smaller families, but very powerful. Okay, so I cannot consider, I don't go by this bullshit that somebody's a black sheep, because that's something like yourself. You put in your head, you're a black sheep.
Well,
Okay.
you know how neurotic.
I met your father. Okay. Very nice guy. And I don't see where in the world are you possibly, all right? Maybe you had too much education, okay? But, you know, why are you a black sheep?
You're
Your
right.
father loves you just like he loves the other children.
He does. He does. And yes, yeah, and I'm absolutely neurotic, no question. But and I hear what you're saying. And you know what? The reason I love this guy is because he changes my mind and gives me perspective, and he's always positive. He always sees the upside of thing, whereas I'm a little more of a, I see the glass half empty at times. So I appreciate that spin on this, and he's right. He did meet my father. He knows my father, and uh, I think when I think of the black sheep, I do think it's kind of self-imposed. People kind of think of themselves as such. They take on this label sometimes, and unfortunately, they have trouble getting that narrative out of their head. And whether Tony Soprano's talking to a therapist about a narrative in his head, or some guy on the street, sometimes those labels persist. So I appreciate Ori mentioning this. And not only is he a father, he's a grandfather. So he understands parenting and what it's like to have a whole group of kids, because he has 3 offspring of his own. So I thank you for saying that. Do you want to add anything to that about the family?
Well, you know, some people consider themselves black sheep. It's, you know, everything we do in life is a mindset, and you're either positive or you're negative. Now, I try not to think of negativities. Now, it's very tough. We had to think of them sometimes. Okay, I'm going through a situation right now where, you know, I'm a little upset with, because I had a certain thing in mind. All right, and I had certain expectations of how many dollars it would bring me. Okay, and I'm confronted with a situation, and that I had to turn it down yesterday. Okay, and you know, I talked with my son. He was over here just a little while ago. We discussed it. You know, things change, businesses change, our economies change. The pandemic that we had, all right, and particularly here in California, All right. Our governor ruined this state. All right. Joe Biden ruined our country. Okay. Joe Biden, in my opinion, is a very negative person. Newsom is just a spoiled little brat that came from a wealthy family. And because he's fairly good looking and he can talk, he thinks he's somebody. He's nobody. Okay. And why am I saying this here and how did I turn this into a political thing? Okay. It's how you think. Now, I don't like neither one of those two names I just mentioned, but there are people that do. Okay.
Well, remember,
And
oh, go ahead.
so it's a mindset, it's a belief, and it's what we're watching and listening to today in today's world. I'm to the point, I just had my old TV went and I had to buy a new TV. And I sit here and say, why the hell did I buy another TV? I don't even like what's on. You can't watch the news, none of them, because you don't get any news. I watch more news and more stuff on YouTube today than I do on television. YouTube is the new place to go to. I watch Joe Rogan. I watch Candace Owens. Okay? I don't know if you watched her. She's one of the best out there. All right, Candace Owens. You got this girl Trish Reagan, but she's a little not really crazy about her.
Well, speaking of which, though, remember when we did that? Some people don't know that Ori and I did a radio show with the governor of Alabama. Do you remember that a couple years
Yes,
ago?
I do.
What is your thought on that? Maybe recap it a little bit because you were great. Ori, Ori scared the pants out of some of these guys because he just called in because we lost the connection and he called right back in and then I lost my connection. So go ahead, tell him a little bit about that because that was kind of
Well, we were helping a guy out of Alabama at the time who was quite ill and was in prison for something that he shouldn't have been in prison in. He was a black guy from Alabama. So being black in Alabama is not a good thing. And he was in prison. And what was his illness? I forgot what it was.
he had some he may have had he had an ulcer, but he also may have had um uh he also had either appendicitis or something else, but there was a chronic issue that he was dealing with. But remind people, because the federal system, people don't know that the federal system has its own medical correction center where actually Bernie Madoff was, right? So a lot of famous.
Well, no, this guy was in Butner, where Bernie Madoff was.
Right, right,
Yeah, same prison. And it was during COVID too,
right.
right? So it was during COVID. He should have been released, but he didn't. And we had a big thing that Jordan and I started, and it ended up with a radio station out of a big one out of Alabama, and with a very nice lady. Her name would come to
Lisa,
me.
Lisa Ward, right?
Aunt Lisa Ward.
Yeah.
All right.
And she worked on the campaign later, it was the governor of Alabama who had been sentenced himself and served time, right?
Yeah. And they had the governor on.
Right, right.
Yeah. And I don't know, the governor was talking a lot, so I injected something that went over very big. But, I let the governor know I don't give a shit who he was.
But people wanted to hear you. They were less
People wanted to hear me more than the governor.
Right.
Yes, because you know why? I don't bullshit around. I tell it like it is. You either like it, you don't like it. I don't give a shit. Okay? Life is too short. Okay? And We're here for a little blip of time. People don't realize that. Everybody thinks you're going to live forever. I'm 80 years old. I know I'm going to die, but I've always known I was going to die. That's just something that we're all going to do. I mean, my godson's wife just passed away a couple of days ago at the age of 62 years old. Okay, that's very young.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I know other people 21 fighting cancer. Okay, so we don't know how long we're going to be here. We don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow morning. And so why not try to be happy and get your thoughts out of it? Because when you're dead, you're dead. Okay? And nobody's going to give a shit about you afterwards. So try to be happy for the moment, for today. Okay? Think of things that you're grateful for. You know, I'm very grateful for my children, my grandchildren. I'm very grateful that although I have health issues, I take care of them. Okay? I don't dwell on it.
How do people, really quick, because I think audiences would be interested, people serve time for all kinds of things. How do they get through um, a sentence to be incarcerated, waking up every morning? Are they thinking? Do you hope they think one moment at a time, or are some people focused on just getting out?
Well, look at, you're given a release day, so you know you're going to get out of prison. But going in, let's take it from going into prison. The day that I got arrested, the day the FBI took me out of my apartment here in Beverly Hills, my mindset changed. My mindset changed. I didn't cry about it. I didn't scream about it. I didn't call them assholes or call them names. Okay? I accepted it and I said to myself, okay, now this is my life. I got to do what I got to do to get out of here. Okay? So if you're going to complain every day, like what Diddy does, Diddy's in prison, he's complaining. He's going to have the worst time in prison than anybody in history. Okay? Because his mindset's not right. He still thinks he's that Diddy with a billion. He was a billionaire. Okay? Who accomplished so many things in his lifetime and ruined it over some dumb, stupid ass shit. And so doing time, all right, that's it. You wake up in the morning, me, normally wake up, there's no wake up call. You're up by 6 all right, they take a head shower at 7, you take your shower, you make your bed, I would up at 4 a.m. I got in the shower before anybody else. And then I said it, we only had radio with earphones. Nobody could hear the radio. It's the only way you could watch TV. Well, TVs are not on. But I would listen. There were only 2 radio stations I got. I was able to get Imus in the morning out of New York. I would listen to him. I do my push-ups. I do my squats and all that there. And then when the doors opened up, I walked right out to the yard and I would walk a few miles. Okay, so then I come back and people have lunch. You do this, you do that. I read a lot. I read over 300 books in prison. I still read every single day. Okay. I do my own podcast, Stories with Ori. I give people the truth. I give them the facts. And, a lot of people like me. for that. I listen to some idiots that lie, and they got 500,000 followers. I got close to 6,000. Wait a minute. If I lie, I can get more followers. But I'm not going to lie.
Well, one of the things that an audience may find interesting is one day I was at the dog park and someone had introduced me to this social audio app called Clubhouse, and a light bulb went off, and I'm like, son of a bitch, excuse my French, I gotta call Ori because he's gonna love this. I didn't think that he was. I didn't necessarily think it was a platform to sell books, but he's got a book out that people rave about. But what was more interesting is we'd hold these rooms and these spaces, and people would kind of flood in, and he outshined me. I mean, I kind of expected that, right? His story is far more interesting than mine, but he became like an icon on this social audio app, and you loved it, right? Like you were in rooms talking to people all over the world. It was kind of funny, and I kind of, you would always credit me for bringing you on the app, but people kind of assumed I was just one of your many fans, and I wanted credit for it. Like, I'm like, no, I brought him on this app. So
yeah, you brought me. I thought it was another thing. I thought you were nuts. Yeah, Jordan brought me on Clubhouse, and I became a big influencer on there. And I met a few good people that are actually were friends to today. It's unfortunate they ruined that app. There's a typical case of somebody having a great freaking business, and they could have gone so far, and they made so many drastic changes that even a technology pro can't figure it out.
right.
To go on
Well,
it.
also, let me move away so people can see your book cover. Talk a little bit about the book, because you know this is kind of one of the story of going from insurance into the organized crime is kind of the theme of the book. But I mean, all kinds of people want to take pictures with you in the book. You've signed the book for many, many people. It's a gesture of you giving back. And you've been to the Mob Museum and given talks. You've been invited to conferences all over the world. So feel free to share a little more about the book, because I think The Accidental Gangster was it's a catchy title, but it's true. And that authenticity is kind of important in you sharing your story.
Well, writing a book was something that I never dreamed in my life that I would do. And, I did 5 years in prison on a Colombo crime family indictment out of New York, out of MDC Brooklyn, the Eastern District of New York, right where Diddy is right now. So I know that prison very well. And the 30 months there, I did my other 30 months in Lompo. I never had one single problem in prison. I was well respected. Because, hey, I know when to keep my mouth shut. I know you don't ask people questions. And I just did my thing, did my time. That's all any of us want to do when you're in prison. You want to do your time. But, I began after getting released from the U.S. Army, and I started in the insurance business with a Prudential Insurance Company, where I became a member of the $1 Million Roundtable, very successful. From there, I went on. I started my own building business. So my book is not your kind of gangster book. where you're going to see shoot them up and kill them and all that shit. Okay. Every word in the book is the truth. You could learn, you get motivated to see how I overcome obstacles. Okay. How to become successful in business. How quitters never win. Winners never quit. You can learn all those things in my book. Last 2 weeks ago, I did an interview with a professor, Amato. I think he was at UC Davis, who was one of the colleges here in California. And he gave me one of the best I ever heard about my book. This guy researched me really good and read my book, and he had great questions. But he began telling his audience that this book is one of the best, well-written books he's ever read. Coming from a professor, that's a big deal. It took me a long time to write this book because I wanted the book to be truthful. And in my book, I say if I could help one young man from not going into a life of crime, it would be worth the book. I've helped many young men and women stay out of a life of crime. So I'm very proud of that there because I changed my life. Upon my release from prison, I made a promise to my children that I would not go back into the life. Now, trust me, okay? I loved the life. I loved it. I was out all the time. I made money every day, not like in this bullshit legitimate world. Okay? I made money every day. I can go out every night, spend $500, $1,000, and didn't bother me. You know, I can't do that no more. All right? But I live here in Beverly Hills. I do fairly well. And I'm happy. So what more can I ask for from life that I was my own man? I stood up. I'm not a rat. Never would be. I am Ori Spado. I took full responsibility for everything I've done in my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And was I a black sheep? No. Was it an accident that I was a gangster? I don't think so. There are no accidents because seriously, folks, I had a great life in that life. But you know what? I'm a very different individual from most people. Okay? If you read my book, I'm sure you all heard of people like Meyer Lansky, Frank Costello, Russell Buffalino, who the movie The Irishman was about, Carlo Marcello, who they proclaim had something to do with the killing of Kennedy. I knew them all. I had them on direct dial. I had lunch and dinner with these folks. So it's no accident. But I knew the real man of the old days of the mafia, okay? Where we lived our lives in the shadow and we believe that what happens in the shadow stays in the shadow. And because I still think that way, I don't talk about a lot of the people that I really was or what I did. And I can't for legal purposes. I can't be saying what everything I did. Okay. But you know, you see the people that I knew in my life, we were all very serious people, including Sonny Franchise, on the East Coast and Jimmy Kachi here in Los Angeles. You're not around these people unless you're stand-up, you're serious, and you know what you're doing. And that's about it, folks. Now this book is being made into a Hollywood movie with a script that was written by George Gallo, who wrote Midnight Run, Bad Boys, and another great movie that just got released last week called Comeback Trail, which is now available on Amazon. You can watch it there with De Niro, Tommy Lee, Morgan Freeman, a great cast, and it's really a funny, funny movie, and you would love it. And right now, we're looking for an actor to play Ori Spado. Production company has made an offer to another actor, and we want to be in production by summer, which is not far away. So, problem is Hollywood works very slowly. You only make an offer to one actor at a time. You don't put it out to several. You put it out to one, and you got to give them 2 weeks to get back to you. So it's a very slow process. So let's hope that this actor there made an offer, a couple $1 million offer to play me. Let's see what he thinks. So that's where we're at, but the movie will get made unless I fuck it up.
And that's exciting. And the other thing is, and I've been to the studio, Ori, his podcasts are recorded out of a studio in Santa Monica, which is
Brentwood.
Brentwood, I'm sorry. Pretty fancy. I've been there and I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna, your YouTube channel is just under your name, right?
The Stories with Ori on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, please go there, subscribe. You're gonna love what you see there. And we talk about everything there is. I interview different people in different walks of life. And as I grow, I'll bring on bigger people, bigger celebrities. But I'm not going to do that until I have a large enough audience. But I do my own thing. I do a lot of my shows I do right from here in my home, and send it to my gal who posts them on YouTube. So you would want to go to Stories with Ori on YouTube and I do news. I tell you about the news, what's going on. Some people love me, some hate me. Okay, whatever it is.
The other thing I want to say is that Ori, one of the coolest things about the book is that Ori has some really distinguished back cover reviewers and endorsements. And that's always a selling point for books in general. But, a lot of these people he had relationships with for a long, long time and were quite influential in their fields. So maybe we should end with that. And I got to catch up with you in person one of these days.
Yeah. I just gave one more. I had 3 great blurbs that are on the back of my book. Nick Pileggi, who wrote Goodfellas, Casino, and now his new movie coming out March 21st called Alto Nights, where Robert De Niro is playing both Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. And here's what he wrote. For nearly 40 years, Orlando Ori Spado was a friend and an associate of John Sonny Franche, underboss of the Colombo organized crime family. His relationship with Sonny brought him to the attention of the FBI and eventually led to his being indicted with Sonny on federal RICO charges and imprisoned in the accidental gangster. Ori provides a detail of his time in the life and his long battle with the FBI, whose overwhelming resources made it a fight that was impossible to win. Nick Pileggi, author and screenwriter, Casino Goodfellas. And another guy was John Connolly, author, New York Times bestselling true crime book, Filthy Rich, about Jeffrey Epstein. And then Jack Gilardi, who is one of the best agents in Hollywood at ICM. So there's a lot in my book, folks. There's at the
Ori,
end, there's
put me
letters.
on the phone with Nick once. I
Yeah.
didn't know what to say. I was like, whoa, okay. That was fun. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So there's letters that I wrote to some people who are alive and people who are dead. It's something you've never seen in a book, folks. And, you're going to want to see it. Even a letter to my second wife in this book. Okay? It'll make you cry. But Jordan, I want to thank you for having me today. I want to wish everybody all my love and respect. If you haven't purchased my book, please do. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or if you want an autographed copy, just go to my website, theaccidentalgangster.com. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
All right, have fun. I'll speak with you soon.
Take care.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.